People do not have ideas, ideas have people. That was a truth spoken by Carl Jung. Have you ever felt that the way you think simply doesn't fit with what the world expects of you? That you've somehow been taught to think incorrectly? Perhaps you were told to be more rational when you've always relied on your feelings, or conversely, called too sensitive when you noticed a meaning where others saw only emptiness. The truth is that your mind operates in a specific, non-random way. It adheres to an inner law that determines how you perceive reality, make decisions, and interact with the world around you. Jung believed that every person expresses one of four basic models of thinking, the four fundamental functions of consciousness. The first is thinking, the logical, structured, cold mind, striving for order and clarity. The second is feeling, perception through emotions, values, relationships, and an internal response to meaning. The third is sensation, perceiving the world through concrete facts and reality, that which can be touched, heard, and seen. And finally, intuition, the ability to see what is not yet present, to seek connections, possibilities, and patterns beyond the obvious. You might think you already know who you are, the rationalist, the dreamer, the feeler, or the pragmatic doer. But what if you have lived your entire life outside of your natural model of thinking? Since childhood, we are conditioned to meet certain expectations. Parents, school, society, all gently and sometimes harshly push us into a mold. If you lean towards logic, you're told, listen to your heart, be more human. If you are emotional, stop being so sensitive. If you live in your imagination, come back to reality. If you are meticulous with details, you're too rigid. From birth, we are molded by external ideas of what constitutes normal thought and feeling. But here is the essential question. What if that normal is not your true nature? Jung wrote that most people never question the lens through which they view the world. They accept it as the truth. But understanding your dominant function is not just self-knowledge, it is power. Because the moment you truly grasp how your mind works, you stop being its prisoner. You become its master. However, what is rarely discussed is that your dominant function is not the only important part of you. Beneath the surface of consciousness, in the depths of the unconscious, lies something far more significant. It is there that the part of you might have ignored your whole life resides. To acknowledge what you have suppressed is just as crucial as understanding how you think. This is where genuine transformation begins. So let's ask the question, who are you truly? The rationalist, the emotional realist, or the intuitive visionary? Because whether you want it or not, your nature already determines how you perceive the world. Either two attitudes, introversion and extroversion. Before diving into the four types of thinking, Jung identified another, fundamental facet of personality, the direction of conscious energy, or simply put, where your internal gaze is directed. There are two opposing attitudes, introversion and extroversion. The introvert is turned inward. They draw strength from reflection, solitude, and internal analysis. The extrovert is turned outward. They are energized by interaction, communication, and external activity. Most people confuse these concepts, believing that an introvert is simply a shy person, while an extrovert is loud and overly sociable. In reality, introversion is not shyness. It is a way of directing energy inward. Extroversion is not loudness. It is the ability to thrive in the flow of the external world. An introvert can be confident, and an extrovert can be calm and quiet. The difference lies only in where they draw their strength. Jung emphasized that neither of these attitudes is better or worse than the other. They are simply two ways of experiencing reality. But it is these attitudes that become the gateway to a deeper understanding, to the four functions of perception that shape our entire inner world. Every person, Jung stated, has a leading function, the type of thinking through which they perceive and interpret reality. Thinking, the ability to analyze, build logical connections, and seek objective truth. These people value structure, clarity, and consistency. Feeling, perception through values, emotions, morality, and relationships. For these people, what is right, humane, and harmonious is just as important as what is true. Sensation, perceiving the world through concrete reality. They trust their five senses, live in the present, and rely on experience and facts. Intuition, perception through hunches, images, and associations. Intuitives see not what is, but what could be. They seek meaning in the invisible, patterns where others see chaos. Every person combines all these functions, but one becomes the primary lens. Through it, we view the world, make decisions, and build relationships. But here is the challenge. Do you truly know which one is yours? Or are you simply accustomed to the one that was imposed upon you? If you live out of alignment with your nature, life becomes a struggle. Decisions feel forced, your mind seems to work against you, and even simple communication can be exhausting. But as soon as a person recognizes their leading function, everything begins to fall into place. They suddenly understand why some situations drain them, while others fill them with energy. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The 8 types, a spectrum of consciousness. Each of the 4 functions, Jung explained, can manifest in 2 directions, external and internal. This combination gives rise to the 8 unique personality types. One person may think logically, directing their mind into the external world, while another may also think logically but internally, analyzing, contemplating, and reflecting in silence. On the outside, they may look similar, but their inner worlds are completely distinct. Extroverted thinking. Imagine extroverted thinking. This is a person of action, systematicity, and order. Their mind is like a machine where everything is calculated, everything is subordinate to a clear structure. They think in terms of efficiency, what works and what doesn't. Such people often become engineers, strategists, and organizers. They see the world as a structure that can be optimized to work perfectly. They demand evidence, logic, and order. They believe in facts more than feelings. But their strength harbors a weakness. Sometimes in their preoccupation with structure, they forget the human element. Their decisions may be flawless, but can be cold, detached from living emotion. They create systems, but at times lose connection with those for whom the systems are necessary. Introverted thinking now. Introverted thinking is another world. Here, logic is directed inward, not outward. These individuals don't just analyze, they seek the essence of things, dissecting any idea down to its foundations. They can spend hours immersed in thought, as if meditating on the very structure of thinking itself. They are not quick to speak. Their priority is to understand. Their mind is like a laboratory where they dismantle a thought until only pure truth remains. They rarely waste words, but when they speak, every word is meticulously weighed. Their strength lies in the depth of analysis, but their weakness is their isolation. Sometimes they wander so far into their own world of ideas that they lose touch with reality, and then their knowledge remains sterile. Wisdom without application. Extroverted feeling. Extroverted feeling types live through the heart. Their intuition instantly picks up on the moods of others, the tone of a conversation, the expression in their eyes. They feel the atmosphere of a room, even if no one has spoken. Their gift is to understand, connect, and create harmony. They live for connection, for warmth, for peace among people. But their sensitivity is not a weakness, it is a strength, though it often turns against them. Because in their striving for harmony, they can forget themselves. They too often place the emotions of others above their own. Their pain is to dissolve into others, losing their boundaries for the sake of someone else's peace. Introverted feeling. Introverted feeling is the opposite pole. These individuals do not strive for external harmony. Their compass is their internal moral law. They do not need approval because they live by their own principles. For them, what is accepted by society matters less than what is true. They do not speak loudly, but their convictions are unshakable. These are the people who become artists, philosophers, and poets. Those who live not for validation, but for inner truth. Yet they also carry the pain of misunderstanding. Their depth often remains invisible. The world considers them strange, withdrawn, too serious, when in reality they simply feel deeper than most are capable of bearing. Extroverted sensation. Moving on to extroverted sensation. This type lives entirely in the here and now. They experience life through the body, through the moment, through movement. They perceive the world not abstractly, but physically, through their eyes, hands, scent, and taste. Their attention is sharp, precise. They notice colors, sounds, and textures. They are people of action, reaction, and experience. They sense, and then they act. For them, nothing is more important than the immediate moment. Such people become athletes, explorers, designers, or chefs, those who thrive in reality. But their weakness is impulsivity. They find it hard to stop, hard to reflect, hard to plan. They chase the sensation, sometimes without noticing where they are going. Introverted sensation. Introverted sensation, conversely, is turned towards the past. It is memory, tradition, and experience. These individuals think in terms of what is tested and reliable. They remember how things were and base their decisions on that foundation. They create stability in a world of chaos. Their strength lies in their reliability, their loyalty to principles, and their respect for their roots. They are the keepers of memory, those who remember how the world is structured, but this same trait can become a chain. They fear the new, resist change, and cling to the past, even when it prevents them from moving forward. Extroverted intuition. Now, extroverted intuition. These are people who live for ideas. Their consciousness is a perpetual fireworks display. They see not what is, but what could be. Their mind is full of connections, ideas, and possibilities. They create, invent, and combine. They see the future when others are stuck in the present. Their inspiration is contagious. Their energy is indomitable. But they struggle to stay committed. They jump from idea to idea, often abandoning what they started. Their ultimate challenge is to learn to ground themselves and implement their visions. Introverted intuition. And finally, introverted intuition. This is an inner fire, quiet but unquenchable. These individuals do not seek answers externally. They feel them from within. Their thinking is deep and symbolic. They see through things. Sometimes it seems as if they foresee events. In reality, they simply sense patterns earlier than others. They see not the surfaces, but the undercurrents. Their strength lies in seeing the essence, in the ability to understand the non-obvious. But their weakness is that they find it hard to express their insights in words. Their understanding is too internal, and others either admire them or do not understand them at all. For the path to individuation. Jung stated that these 8 types are not 8 cages to confine us, but ATE, directions of consciousness. Every person combines them in a unique proportion. Everyone has a leading function, the one through which they view the world, and auxiliary functions that balance and complement it. He explained it simply. If the leading function is the main hero of your soul, the auxiliary function is its companion. For example, a person whose leading function is thinking might have feeling as a supporting role so as not to lose touch with emotions. An intuitive person benefits from developing sensation so as not to lose contact with reality. These secondary functions are not as strong, but they create equilibrium. There is also the tertiary function. It is like a quiet background. It appears from time to time, especially as we mature. It doesn't rule, but it helps. For instance, an extroverted thinker might have intuition as a tertiary function. It suddenly sparks their creativity when logic hits a wall. And finally, in the depths of the unconscious, lies the inferior function, the weakest, the most unconscious. It lives in the shadow. Most often, we neither understand nor control it, but it is within this function, strangely enough, that the potential for our growth is sealed. This function is like our reflection, what we try not to notice, yet what still influences us from within. For example, if a person is primarily rational, their weak spot might be emotions. They may not understand how to deal with them. Conversely, a person who lives by emotion might fear cold logic. A sensing type might get lost in abstract ideas, and an intuitive type might forget simple, practical tasks. But it is precisely in these shadow functions that the path to wholeness lies. Jung believed that true maturity is not about strengthening the strong, but about embracing the weak. We grow when we step outside our habitual way of thinking, when the logical person learns compassion, when the feeling person masters discernment, when the dreamer learns to act, when the realist allows themselves to dream. This is the path of integration. This is how true psychological evolution begins, when a person ceases to be a prisoner of their leading function and discovers their integrated self. Because a mind that knows only one side inevitably suffers. Only when we accept what we previously rejected do we become whole. You're the shadow and the authentic self. A large part of who we are lives beneath the surface. We like to think we are in control of ourselves, that our decisions, actions, and reactions are conscious. But Jung said, it is an illusion. Behind every choice, behind every emotion, stands an invisible, unconscious force that guides us as surely as a current guides a river. We only see the surface, the sheen of the water, the swirling in the sun, but the depth remains hidden. It is in this depth that what Jung called the shadow lives, the side of the personality that we reject, deny, and hide. Everything we were taught to consider bad, unacceptable, or shameful, anger, envy, weakness, selfishness, vulnerability. We suppress these qualities not because they don't exist, but because we are afraid to show them. A child constantly told, "Don't be angry," learns to suppress their rage. The one shamed for tears hides their sensitivity. A woman taught to be nice suppresses her strength. A man conditioned that men don't cry suppresses his heart. Everything suppressed does not disappear. It retreats into the shadow. But the shadow does not sleep forever. It seeks release. It manifests in the most unexpected forms, in bursts of irritation, in jealousy, in hatred for those who reflect our own suppressed qualities. We often despise in others what we have not accepted in ourselves. Jung stated, "Until you make your shadow conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate." And here is the paradox. The shadow is not an enemy. It is a mirror. It holds the energy you lose by restraining yourself. To accept the shadow is to reclaim your strength. In anger lies resolve. In envy, the drive for growth. In weakness, humanity. When you stop running from these qualities and learn to understand them, you become whole. Jung called this process individuation, the becoming of the authentic self. It is not about self-improvement or fixing mistakes. It is a return home to your genuine self. Because from childhood we build a facade, we create a persona, an image we show the world, a smile, strength, confidence, a mask beneath which everything else lives. Individuation is the breaking down of that mask. It is when a person stops being a role and starts being themselves. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But this path is not easy. Individuation requires courage. It demands looking into the parts of yourself you have been conditioned to turn away from. For to become whole, you must acknowledge not only the light, but also the darkness. This path is not for those seeking quick fixes. It is not a course or a technique. It is a lifelong process. Individuation is an internal dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious, between who you want to be and who you are. It does not make a person perfect. It makes them real. Such a person does not deny their contradictions. They live with them in peace. They know when to be logical and when to be sensitive, when to act and when to wait. They do not try to fit into external categories. They create their own. Many live without reaching this point. They live out their lives fulfilling external expectations, playing roles, repeating scripts imposed by family, culture, and society. They live, but not as themselves. Their true self sleeps beneath layers of masks. But the one who once decided to look within, who dared to meet their shadow, can never go back. They become who they are, with all their contradictions, with their light and their darkness. Jung said that the person who achieves wholeness is not the one who conquered the darkness, but the one who learned to talk to it. Such a person does not fight with themselves. They observe how a thought is born, how a feeling rises from the depths, and they do not reject it. They do not label one part good and the other bad. They accept everything as parts of a single whole. Individuation is the art of living with yourself without war. It is an internal equilibrium that external storms cannot shatter. Because when a person unites their opposites, reason and feeling, strength and vulnerability, light and shadow, they become one. And then the world ceases to be hostile. It simply reflects you. Jung believed that most people live fragmented. They deny parts of themselves, unaware that those very parts are what make them alive. But the one who has gone through individuation reaches a rare state of inner clarity. Their thoughts, emotions, and actions no longer argue among themselves. They are aligned. They are not perfect. They are authentic. The authentic self is not created through effort. It is revealed when you stop being someone else, when you let go of the need to conform, when you allow yourself to simply be. Jung believed that a human being is capable of more than just living like everyone else. They are capable of becoming themselves. Not a copy, not a mask, not a role, but the very source of consciousness. And this is what he called the meaning of human life. So who are you truly? Not the role, not the name, not the habit, but the you that stands behind all those layers. Perhaps you have sensed that something within you sleeps. Perhaps you felt you weren't in the right place, that life was somehow passing you by. This is not a mistake. It is a call. It is a signal from the depths. Start listening. Start observing. Start recognizing yourself. The path to self is not easy, but it is the only one that makes sense. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this.